You know, for over a century, the world's oil routes have pretty much drawn the map of global power. But today, a new generation of energy corridors is redrawing that map entirely. And one of the most critical links taking shape is the one between Iran and China. This is all about energy security, strategic geography, and a whole new economic architecture being built right before our eyes.
So, what's driving this massive shift? Well, it all starts with an almost unbelievable thirst for energy. China's economy burns through roughly 15 million barrels of oil every single day. That makes it the world's biggest importer. And that massive demand is the engine behind literally everything else we're about to see.
Now here's where it gets really interesting, because this creates a huge strategic problem. China's own domestic production can't even come close to meeting that demand. So that means over 70% of the oil it needs has to be imported, creating this major vulnerability that, you can bet, Beijing is determined to solve.
And traditionally, a huge chunk of those imports comes from the Middle East, traveling through these really crowded and easily disrupted sea lanes. If you're a planner in Beijing, relying so heavily on these narrow maritime choke points is a massive strategic headache. And it's a problem that absolutely demands a new solution.
Okay, so this is where Iran enters the picture. As this chart clearly shows, it's sitting on some of the world's largest proven oil and natural gas reserves. That enormous energy base makes it a critical player on the world stage, and of course, a very attractive partner for a country with China's needs.
And the data here is just striking. As global trade patterns have shifted, China has become the #1 destination for Iranian oil. We're talking over 90% of Iran's total crude exports. So you see, this isn't just another trade relationship, it's a lifeline for one country and a vital strategic supply for the other.
The key incentive here is pretty straightforward. It's all about the price. To lock in buyers, Iranian crude often trades at a significant discount compared to global benchmarks like Brent. And for China's refineries, that's an economic opportunity that is simply too good to pass up.
So what you get is this consistent, steady flow of discounted energy that cements a direct trade link. We're moving way beyond just short-term deals here. This builds a foundational economic connection that really paves the way for a much deeper, long-term strategic alignment between them.
And that alignment was made official in 2021 with this landmark 25-year cooperation agreement. This isn't about temporary arrangements anymore. It's about locking in decades of collaboration, linking Iran's energy supply directly with Chinese investment in things like infrastructure and industry. And here is where you can see how this deal fits into a much bigger picture. It positions Iran as a cornerstone of China's massive Belt and Road Initiative, which is all about connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa through these huge infrastructure networks. Iran is a critical geographic link in that whole chain. You see, Iran's location is probably its greatest strategic asset. It acts as this perfect natural land bridge, connecting the energy riches of the Persian Gulf with the overland trade routes of Central Asia. That offers a powerful alternative to relying only on shipping by sea.
And this isn't just a vision. They're building it with concrete and steel. The partnership includes enormous investment in new transport corridors. We're talking ports, pipelines, and especially rail lines, like the proposed Five Nations Railway designed to move resources efficiently right across the continent.
The end goal here is to build a complete, resilient supply chain. That means controlling the flow of energy from the second it comes out of the ground in Iran to the moment it arrives at a refinery in China. It creates a seamless, secure system from start to finish.
Now back in China, there's a specific part of the market that's really driving demand for this crude, the independent refiners, who are nicknamed teapots. They're way more agile and price-sensitive than the huge state-owned giants, which makes the cost savings on Iranian oil absolutely critical for their bottom line.
So what's the ultimate strategic play for China in all of this? It boils down to one word: diversification. By developing these overland corridors and cementing relationships with producers like Iran, Beijing is systematically reducing its dependence on those vulnerable sea lanes, making its energy supply far more secure. So yes, Iran is a vital piece of the puzzle, but as you can see here, it's just one part of a much larger strategy. China is building a whole diversified energy network across Eurasia, locking in key supply deals with Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Central Asian nations to create multiple, redundant sources of energy.
And this, right here, is what a modern energy corridor is all about.
It's a resilient web of infrastructure that creates a direct, stable, and long-term link between an energy producer who desperately needs a reliable market and an industrial consumer who desperately needs a reliable supply.
So in the end, these corridors are doing way more than just moving resources around. They are actively redrawing the world's energy map. They're creating new economic realities and new geopolitical alignments that are set to define global trade and power for decades to come.